I'm Matt Marvin. In the IDs software, we have built in a history tracker, a way to see what you've done with your image from the time you took your original, copied it, and once that copied one was loaded into the software, what did you do with your enhancements in that image? And we have a few different ways that you can view it. Of course, you can view it through our software. We have it so you can print it. And we have a few different ways that that history tracker can follow around with your image. And if you're asking yourself, why do I even need a history tracker? The biggest reason that most people are wanting a history tracker is to be able to ensure that they can say, here's my original image, and here's how I got to my final product when they go in front of a court or when they're talking with prosecutors or defense attorneys. Just being able to say, here's my beginning product, here's the steps I took in between, and here's my end product. And so we really built our history tracker like that. Some of the other history trackers that are out there in other software programs, we've really been frustrated with them because I can look at them and I can say, well, here's the image that I started with, and I know exactly what buttons I clicked, but when I read that history log, boy, I don't remember doing all of these steps that it's saying that I did in between. So for me to be able to say here was my starting image and here was my ending images, some of them are so detailed you can't sort through what actually was done to your image. And so we have built our history tracker in a manner that's not only easy to access, records the things that are important, but it's easy for you to read. So you as an examiner can take your image and you can go in front of a courtroom if you need to, and you can say, here's where I started, and here are the steps that I took to get where I ended. And not only can I explain them, I can reproduce them if I ever needed to. So looking at a history tracker in that terms, we've built in what we think is the perfect set of combination of detailed information, but not excessive information to the point you can't even read your own history information. So I've got a latent print pulled up on my screen. I want to show you, everyone who's watching this, how this works in our software, how you can access it, how you can move that history information around, and how you can share it if you ever need to. So let's take a look. Down here on my computer screen, I've got in my film strip latent print. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to go ahead and load that into my image pane 1. Looking over at my tool palette on the left-hand side, you're going to see my bottom option here is history tracker. So if I expand that out, you're going to see, look, we just opened that image, so now we've got an initial history added. So let's do something with this image. Let's start by saying we want to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So we do, and now if we go down to our history tracker, we're going to see we rotated it 90 degrees clockwise. Well, obviously that's not the correct orientation, so I'm going to rotate that back. Let's rotate it back 90 degrees counterclockwise, and if we go into our history tracker, we're going to see that we rotated it 90 degrees clockwise. Maybe let's do some enhancements. So let's go to image processing. Let's click on our enhancements. Let's boost our contrast a little bit, and let's reduce our brightness a little bit. I'm not saying that this is the best combination of enhancements for this image, but just want to give you an example of how the history tracker is going to record this information. We'll go ahead and close that panel. So now if we go back over to our tool palette and we look at our history tracker, we're going to see that we activated our enhancements, that we adjusted the contrast to value 8, and we adjusted the brightness to value -18. So all that information about changes that you actually made are there, and you can see that moving the slider to the right was a positive, moving it to the left was a negative, and this is something that you can not only read, you can understand, and you can reproduce if you ever needed to. Let's do something else here. Let's drop some dots. I'm going to turn off my proportional preferences. Again, when I'm actually working a case, I kind of like small annotations. So I'm going to do something big enough that everybody can see it here. So let's go with a 20-point dot, and I'm going to go ahead and drop a couple dots on this image. So let's go with some greens. I'm going to make sure that that drop dot activated, and you can see up here at the top the red text drop dot activated, and we're going to go ahead and put a dot here, and I'll put a dot here. Okay, so a couple points there. Fairly good confidence in those points, so I'm marked those in green. And let's go see what our history tracker did with this. I'm going to go ahead and turn my drop dots off. Going down to look at my history tracker, we're going to see that we started to drop a dot, and we started to drop a dot. So we drop these dots on these images, and they're recorded. So not only your annotations, and not only your enhancements, and your rotation of the images, all of this is being recorded in the history tracker. So when you're done with your image, if you're happy with it, you would hit save. Now, if you're not happy with your enhancements, you'd close out of this. And when you close out of this, if you don't save the changes, all that history information is just going to go away. Why? Because you don't need that information. It's not an existing image. You weren't happy with the enhancements that you did. Maybe you're going to try something again, try a different combination of enhancements. And so you don't need that history information because that's not an image that you're going to keep. So if you reloaded that image again, you would see that the history tracker has started back over at initial history added. In this case, I want to continue with this process and show you how to access this history information. So I'm going to hit save. This is the same file name that I have in there right now and same file type. So this is going to write over the image that I have in my film strip. So that's great. And let's just go ahead and reload that. Okay, and I've gone ahead and turned those dots off. So now if we go down into the history tracker, we are going to see all this information is saved with that image. If I want to access that, I could just go into print the history, and you're going to see whatever logo you choose from your preferences. You're going to see your you're going to see your latent print over on the left hand side, and you're going to see all this information that has been added to the history information. So you can easily access it, print it there if you ever needed to share it with somebody. The other way to access it is if we open our film strip folder, we're going to see down here, here is our latent print and here's our history information. Now we could just right click on this and we can open it with either Microsoft Word or Notepad. So there's that information in Microsoft Word. And I could also open it in Notepad. And there you're going to see that information in Notepad. So it's going to record those in two different places for you. So these history files that go along with this image will travel with this image as long as you do a save as. So if you go File, Save As, and you choose a different location to save your image, that history file will travel with it. Or if you go and export your images, I'll go ahead and click on Export Images here in the upper left-hand side of the screen. If you have a bunch of images in your film strip, this is going to let you actually select the images that you want to export and where you want to export them to, and you'll be able to export those all, and the history information will travel with it. Again, my name is Matt Marvin. I'm the Latent Print Technical Manager with Ron Smith & Associates at our headquarters office in Collinsville, Mississippi. Our phone number is 1-866-832-6772, and you can always reach us on our website at www.ronsmithandassociates.com. Take care, have a great day, and God bless.